Hey everybody, I'm Michael Monaco.
And I'm Bobby Salveson, and we are the Hazmat Guys, bringing you the knowledge and insight to make your job a little bit easier and safer. But before today's show, let's listen to our sponsors. Hey guys, did you know that CBRNE Convergence is heading back to Orlando from the 6th to the 8th of November 2018, bringing you 3 days of workshops, lectures, and interactive sessions delivered by speakers from around the world on the latest issues and approaches to CBRNE and Hazmat. This year's pre-conference workshop is on mass fatalities, a must for first responders. To register for the visits, go to cbrneworld.com/convergence2018. Hey guys, you've heard us talk about Dahlgren Decon and its effectiveness on fentanyl, chemical warfare agents, and ticks and TIMs. Firstline Technology has launched a new Decon field guide app for your iPhone and Android device. It has a complete threat library and explains Dahlgren Decon functionality against bulk contamination and contaminated surfaces. It also has complete instructions for mixing and applying Dahlgren Decon, as well as reactivity concerns, suggested ratios, and dwell times. Download today on the Apple App Store and coming soon to Android. Hey everybody, we have a great episode coming up today, but before we start the show, we want to share some exciting news from the Hazmat Guys. As some of you may know, we have been working on a hazmat drill book for quite some time, and we're pleased to announce that it is finally available on Amazon. This book was written by contributors from the hazmat community based all around the United States, and we think it will provide a ton of value for both you and your department. The title of the book is The National Emergency Response Hazmat Drills, 50 Drills to Improve Your Team, better known as NERD. No, this was not a mistake. Anyway, the goal of the book has been to help the hazmat community, and we hope that you'll take a moment to check it out and share it. We have the link in the show notes, and if you have a moment, please leave us a positive review in Amazon. We'd be very grateful. We wanted to get NERD on the bestseller list and give more exposure to our community. Again, the book is called National Emergency Response Hazmat Drills, 50 Drills to Improve Your Team, and there's both a paperback and Kindle version available. Thank you, everybody.
Now let's get into the show.
Hey guys, Bobby from the Hazmat Guys here, and before I introduce episode 144, part 2 of the periodic table, I just want to let you know that we will be in Pennsylvania on August 26th and Nashua, New Hampshire on September 5th. Please go and check out those shows, the Pennsylvania State Hazmat Conference and the Nashua, which is the New Hampshire State Fire Conference, and then always everybody's favorite, the Massachusetts State Fire Conference. Hazmat Conference, I apologize, on September 19th and 20th. So without any further ado, let's finish up part 2 of the periodic table.
We'll pull back a little bit. Let's talk a little about some of the actual properties or the groupings within the periodic table. And I guess we should probably start with metals, or they're sometimes referred to as transition metals. All right, because they kind of transition in property as they go across the chart. And in general, there are going to be 10 groups of these metals in the middle part of your table. Like go 2 columns,
right?
2 columns over, and the third column starts our transition metals.
Right, and these things, basically, if you say the top one, it's the grouping. So if you notice on the chart, we have in the show notes that you may see on the top right of the box that there are a few different numbers, and these are called valence orbitals. Now, we're not getting into these in this episode. We were considering doing it, but honestly, there's really no reason on the street to need to know that.
And what's really cool about the transition metals is you have a certain stability, and that stability comes from the way that they share their electrons, and they end up sharing it differently than almost everybody else in the group. So since they're sharing their electrons differently, they have different properties than the non-metals.
Yeah, okay. So on the right side, we have the non-metals. We mentioned these already. And then along that staircase kind of dividing line, you get the metalloids and semiconductors.
All right. Now, how are they organized? Generally, they're also organized by their atomic number.
Right. This, in essence, means that the atomic number goes up, the weight would also go up. That makes sense, right? Because as we have more of our protons that are offsetting the electrons, which we are not talking about, there's going to be a neutron in the middle of that that's kind of weighing the whole thing down.
Right. And that kind of brings us into the families, right? Because The families are a direct proportion to the ratio of the protons to the electrons, and things that have the similar ratios, they're going to react similarly, so they have been grouped into families. These families have striking resemblances to each other, hence the name families, all right? And one note on this topic, right? No, seriously, families, like, you got that family down the block that's got like 6 redhead kids, right? They all kind of look the same, all kind of act the same. It's the same thing.
O'Doyle rules.
Soulless MFs. All right. Everything that we can assume is based on being pure and no contaminants. What do I mean by that? I mean that when we're talking about how something is going to react within that family, we are literally talking about the chemicals within that family.
Elemental,
right? Not necessarily that just because it has chlorine in it, it's going to be this badass MF who's going to go screw everything up. Because like I said, sodium chloride is table salt, and we eat that shit up constantly.
So now there's many different family names, right? We have all on the left, and I'm going across the whole thing. We have alkali earths, and then you have alkaline earth metals. So I just gave you group 1, and then group 2, alkaline earth metals. Now number 3 is that 2 rows that are always kicked down to the bottom. The top row is the lanthanides. The bottom row is the actinides. Then you have that whole mid-range, the belt region, whatever you want to call it. Those are the transition metals. These are kind of going from left to right, marching towards that staircase.
Yeah, used a tremendous amount in industry.
Tons.
All these transition metals. All right, then we have our post-transitional metals. We have our metalloids and our semiconductors. We have reactive nonmetals. All right, so think about that. Things that react that are not metals, we would call those the halogens. All right, we hear that in halogenated hydrocarbons. All right, the halogen group. And finally, we have the noble gases or the inert gases. We're going to break down some of the major ones to kind of really drive home the different characteristics of the families.
All right, the first one we're going to go through is the alkali metals. Now, this group, which is group 1, this is going to be the first column all the way to the left, and it's going to be called, obviously, the alkali metals. This is has lithium, has sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, and francium. Oui.
Francium isn't very well respected by the other alkaline metals. These guys are really, really reactive. All right, the elements themselves are really, really reactive. And as you start to drop down that row, as you start to get into larger and larger molecules, as you start to get into higher weights, your reactivity starts to really go through the roof.
Now, with that, as you start going down through the rows, they become more and more rare.
Yes.
Right. So
that's pretty much true as we go down the chart, right?
Right. So now think about that. If I have something as I go down the chart, vertically, I'm going down the rows, and it's becoming more and more rare, why don't we see it? Because it's more reactive and it's consuming itself faster.
In its elemental form.
In its elemental form. That's why we have it like that.
FLIR, a global leader in CBRE and detection, announces a new version of the Identifinder R200 spectroscopic personal radiation detector that now detects and identifies neutrons in addition to gamma radiation. Neutrons penetrate material and travel far greater distances than any other form of radiation. A neutron detector has a better opportunity of detecting neutrons before any other associated type of radiation. This capacity provides an early warning to malicious material and provides a vital situational awareness to the user. This ruggedized, pager-sized detector can be mounted in a vehicle or worn for 24/7 radiation monitoring. While being worn, the Identifinder R200GN operates like a personal radiation detector, alarming when radiological hazards are detected. Responders can also use this device to perform isotope identification to help make safe and informed decisions. The Identifinder R200GN enables responders to determine whether a detection is a true threat or something a little more benign in nature. The R200GN uses the same Identifinder interface that responders have come to know, making it a seamless addition to the response toolkit. Find out more about the FLIR Identifinder R200GN by visiting www.flir.com/R200. This is something that we can actually see on a fairly regular basis. If you go and you YouTube the alkali earth alkali metals reacting with water, you can see that they are extremely energetic and exothermic. And the further you go down, you actually you can blow out glass beakers. You can have a lot of fun with this stuff, okay?
Right.
Spitting white flames. It's angry. It blah, 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 blah. All right, they liberate flammable gases like hydrogen when they hit water and things that they react with. Go to YouTube and just watch it, and you will see, do sodium, and you'll see sodium, and then kind of go down that list: potassium, rubidium, and cesium. Oh my God, cesium will blow your pool to smithereens.
And all this heat that's generated the heat generates the hydrogen, and now the hydrogen is ignited by the heat.
Yeah.
So it makes the whole thing in a feedback loop that's incredible. So, and some of these things, when they liberate gases, and depending on the elemental and how it's doing it, we're talking about water.
Right.
They could produce corrosive gases, corrosives, tons of stuff.
Which kind of brings up an interesting point. Bob said that they were water reactive, but yet we hear them so much as being air reactive. Right? Hey, don't let this touch the air. It's not reacting with the air, right? It's not reacting with the nitrogen. It's not reacting with the oxygen. It's not reacting with the whatever little 2% else is in the atmosphere. It's actually reacting with the moisture that's in the air.
Right.
So the air reactive is a little bit of a misnomer. If you see something that's air reactive, consider that to be water reactive, especially as a firefighter.
Right.
I'm going to go put water on this fire. Some people may not turn around and go, oh, it's fine, I'm putting water on it. It's not like I'm putting air on it.
Right. They're actually water reactive. That's what it actually comes out of. So when they're actually packed, they're either packed in a vacuum pulled atmosphere, or really they're done under oil.
Yeah.
They get packed under mineral oil.
General mineral oil. So when we talk about this reaction in which we have these flames and the spitting and the da-da-da-da-da, what's actually happening is these things are so reactive that they're actually splitting the water molecule into two pieces. They're creating oxygen and they're creating the hydrogen. And you kind of can figure where that reaction's going.
So the next one, column number 2, is the alkaline earths. This is made up of beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium, and radium.
They're found in group 2, all right, because they're the one group to go right of the badasses.
Yeah, the badasses.
The badasses, right? The really reactive, like the water reactive group. So we have 1, you have that group. 2, you have this one. They react, but they're not as reactive.
Yeah, but they are still water reactive.
Yeah. And even though these elements won't spontaneously ignite as bad as the group 1s will, they're sitting there waiting. They will if they're pressed into it.
Now, here's the thing: is if I increase the surface area, right? So if I have a solid block, I have a very limited amount of surface area. If I start crushing this up, I get into prills or I get into dust. Now I'm asking for trouble. It reduces the ignition energy needed to light this thing up.
They are very reactive, enough to be used extensively in the commercial setting.
Right.
All right. A lot of times too, they have their isotopes have very good radioactive properties.
Right.
So we see them both in the isotope form, a tremendous amount, and we also see them in their more stable form.
Even the bad ones, like radium, is not a good thing to have in your basement.
No, it's unless you're trying to get rid of your tenants.
Well, call us, guys.
Takes a while.
So the next one that we're going to jump straight over to the right side, and we're going to go to the second to last one. I believe this is group 17. I think is the group. It's isn't it?
7?
7?
7?
It might
17?
be 7. Group 7. You're right. It is group 7, depending on what you look at.
Do us a favor. Look at the periodic table, and when you find fluorine, that's the group we're talking about.
Right, and this is we can call it the assholes.
These are the assholes.
Right.
These are the jerks. These are the jerks, all right? They're the fluorine, the chlorine, the bromine, the iodine, and the azotine.
Right. Now, you might be asking why we call them the assholes, and it's because they are extremely reactive. If you look at the listing of the most reactive chemicals, I'm guaranteeing you these guys are involved in the mix. They have, as we said in the alkali metals, the guys all the way on the left, they are extremely reactive. They're just in there waiting for fights.
Right. And if they are looking for fights in different terms, right? So the alkali metals are looking to become stable by giving something away. The halogens are looking to become stable by taking something. So when these two groups get together, you really have a very good reaction. And it's no wonder why sodium chloride, is so abundant on this earth, right? Because these get together and they really like to party.
Right, and these things, just like on the left side, they start a chain reaction, and it is very difficult to stop that positive feedback loop. They start the chain reaction, and it's very, very hard to stop the chain reaction. This is where we get inhibitors and polymerization. This is where we get a ton of things to kind of limit the interaction between these bullies and the weaker guys.
The weaker ones, yeah. Literally. It's quite literally that. Now, you may sit, and if you only understood very, very, very basic generalizations, you would say, well, the alkalides, they're extremely, extremely reactive, and they're flammable. Things that are reactive could be flammable, and the halogens are very, very reactive, so they must be flammable too. But if you understood a little bit more about the process that's happening, you would understand that the halogen groups, for the most part, are non-flammable. All right? Everyone seems to think they are, but they are more of an oxidizers, right? And oxidizers themselves, they're not flammable, but they are assholes. So they make fire happen.
Right. What they do is they make the reactions go much quicker. So if it took, X amount of minutes for this thing to consume, you add one of these bad boys in there, and it'll take fractions of that. So in a lot of ways, this halogen being added to a situation makes it worse than the flammable gas itself.
Right. And then you take something like chlorine, right, or fluorine, and you throw it onto a hydrocarbon, and suddenly you have an extremely non-reactive, in everybody's air conditioner, in the refrigerator, chemical that just kind of, does nothing. So, again, I'm just reiterating the fact that you can't take an element's properties and apply that to a molecule that has that element in it. I can't say that enough, because it's one of the most confusing parts to people, is that they try to associate the two, and you just can't do it. All right. Now we're going to get into the column next to it. So we have the super uber assholes, all right? And then literally right next to it, you have like the do-nothings, the noble gases.
Right. These are the rightmost column.
As column 8, as far as you can go.
Now, this is helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon. Now, what did I say, radium before? I did say radium before.
Radium.
Did I misspeak
radon.
that? I don't think I... Radon.
Radon.
All these ones over here, you're probably going to think about them... what I always think about is neon lights.
I think party balloons.
Party balloons?
The helium.
Oh, okay. That works.
In kids' parties, doing the voice stuff. And they are pretty much... I'm not even going to say pretty much. They are all gases.
Right. They're all gases, which is kind of a unique thing. As you go down the chart and they get heavier, you're usually starting to get more of a solid type thing. But these guys are exempt from that. And second, because all their valence rings are full. Now, the valence, let me just define the valence. Valence is the outer shell. It's the outer orbital for an atom, right? And so what we're saying is that all the slots they have are full, meaning they're full, they're happy, they really don't want to interact with anybody. They just want to be left alone.
Yeah, don't bother me. Now, and you think about what happens, and this is part of understanding the nuances, not just the generalizations, right? The generalization is when something becomes heavier, it becomes a solid. But if you understand what's happening with a solid, all right, you're basically getting to the point that the electrons and the protons within each other are kind of, not within each other, but from one atom to another, are making each other stay in kind of a solid or a crystalline form. Mm-hmm. But if the valences are happy and everything's balanced, there's nothing to magnetically connect them to make them solid, so they become a gas. All right? The main problem with these, all right, and if we talk and we think about helium and argon and things like that, the main problem is not going to be anything other than they're just going to displace
Right.
All right? They are going to be your asphyxiants.
And they're not really flammable. They're really nothing.
They're nothing.
They really do nothing. And some people go, well, they're flammable. I've seen them in neon lights. Well, they're glowing because they're electrically excited.
Right.
They're actually, the electricity's flicking the electron out, and then it's snapping back because it's like, F you, man. Yeah. I want it back.
They are excited, kind of like
very
how
excited.
The audience is when we take one of these conference stages, which you would be able to see if you joined one of these conferences that we're talking about. You would be able to see the excitement within the audience.
The glowing, it's like Christmas morning, right? So the last point on this, and now the excitement's building up because they know it's the end of the show, is they are also typically stored in cryogenic states. Now, obviously, it's not in cryogenic state in a neon light, but when we're saying we're storing a bunch of this stuff, we are cryogenically doing it, and they all have massive expansion ratios. I'm talking 600 to 1 plus.
Yeah.
If you have a moment, please head over to iTunes and leave us a positive review. And don't forget to check out the book, National Emergency Response Hazmat Drills, or NERD, on Amazon.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Hazmat Guys.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel at the Hazmat Guys. And take a moment to call our comment hotline at 843-628-1484 and go to www.thehazmatguys.com and sign up for the newsletter.
We seriously look forward to your feedback about any of the information provided, and we also want to hear about interesting incidents that you were a part of. So you can send us a note at feedback@thehazmatguys.com. And remember, any of the information that you share with us, if we put it on air, can always remain anonymous.
Remember, guys, don't just get on the job. Get into the job.